Plaintiff Susie March says the defendant is her granddaughter, and because she was born with cocaine in her system, she was a problem child growing up. Susie's suing her granddaughter for car rims, which the defendant refuses to return. Defendant Bianca Henderson admits that she was a follower when she was younger, and as a result, she had a hard time focusing in school. Bianca insists Susie told her to keep the car rims, and therefore she doesn't owe her.
Start with you.
Bianca Henderson is my granddaughter. I raised her from birth. Her mom is my daughter. She's a snow baby, all of them.
Cocaine?
Yeah.
Okay.
So she was a problem kid coming up. And when she was in school, she had a lot of problems. She got to be a teenager, she was in problem.
Did your daughter overcome her addiction?
No, she's still on S today.
And it's been all of her life?
Yes. She started, as far as I know, when she was about 14, 15. I'm not sure when she started.
What city you live in?
Orlando.
Go ahead.
And Bianca, she grew up and she was going to school and she was problem at that school.
And she's 30 now, so
yeah.
The 90s, okay, cocaine epidemic was still there. I'm just trying to figure and associate what happened with her and your daughter to the epidemic of cocaine that was dumped on the inner cities in the late 80s. That's what the crack epidemic came from. And unfortunately, grandmothers in droves had to take care of the grandchildren. I had to take care of my niece, my wife, and I for 18 years.
Wow.
So I sympathize with that, and I'm saying this to educate people on what occurred, and it is no doubt occurring with the opioid epidemic in rural and suburban America, where most of it is occurring. And hopefully they'll learn a lesson, because it was very difficult. You lived your life. You're ready to relax. You're ready to whatever. And here you have to relive a responsibility, not saying a burden, but a responsibility which may be burdensome to you. And it's so unfortunate. A lot of times these grandmothers have retired or they've had low-income jobs because they were failed by a segregated education system. When they were coming up in the 50s and 60s, the schools were segregated and the black ones were inferior to the white ones. So the grandparents didn't have a proper education so that they could afford to take care of a grandchild. And so it was a struggle for them again, probably was a struggle with your children, with your own children, and then you had to endure another struggle. Yes. All right, ma'am, go ahead. I'm so sorry to hear that, and I went off on a tangent, but I'm always gonna do that when I hear stuff that people need to know. And they need to know that there are millions of grandmothers who have to raise those grandchildren because their child is drug addicted. And so she was troubled at what age approximately, your granddaughter?
She was very young. She was, well, you could start seeing it when she was like about 6, 7. She started acting out, and her mama was never there in her life anyway, so.
Plaintiff Susie March is suing her granddaughter, who she claims was born with cocaine in her system.
And part of that, young lady, you were born with cocaine in your system, and that caused behavioral problems. Yes. It does. I'm not going to go any further than where I went with my relative in terms of their behavior. I'll leave it alone. But that is the case. Science proves that that is the case, that the child's behavior, a certain part of the brain of the parent who is addicted to drugs, the chemicals affect the chemicals of the baby. So that even doubles the burden. I'm fighting in Flint right now where the city poisoned the water. And over half of the children are going to be developmentally affected by the poisoned water. And they project that the primary effect will be behavioral and academic underachievement. And so we were able to get the federal government to budget for tutors, for counselors, for social workers, all of which are going to be necessary for over half of the kids in Flint. Drug epidemic, opioid epidemic, y'all just bringing all the children in and causing them to be troubled, and then we want to look up and say, what's wrong with them kids? We failed them. That's what we've poisoned them with drugs and with the water in Flint. All right, let me stop. But it's just so troubling. It's hard for me to get through a case when I hear stuff like this without lingering on it a little. You tell me about your behavior, young lady.
Like, it's not bad, but...
Tell me about how you were in school.
I was like every other child, like following. I was actually a follower. And I noticed that it led me to being in trouble, so I tried to move myself from people that's doing the wrong thing.
Good. Did it work?
Not really.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And how were your academics?
It was good. I love my work. It's just I never was focused because I was trying to be a follower.
All right. Tell me about the property, ma'am. You're suing her for what happened here.
I had let her use my car back in January. I let in the last part of January. And because I know she didn't have a car, so she was supposed to buy the car when she got her taxes. I know you say don't worry about the taxes.
Don't ever go with a promise of taxes.
but
You're right.
I did. I look at you every day.
I'm using that now. When I get something from somebody, I might run short on change sometimes. And I say, give me $20, man. I'll pay you when my income tax comes. Yeah. And then I tell them, man, you know how much income tax I had to pay? I didn't get a refund. But she told you that, and what happened?
She really paid me.
She did?
Yes, she did, yes. She did. That's the first.
All right. Good.
But before then, I had some rims and tires that I had on the car back in December of last year, and they tried to steal the rims, so I had them taken off because I can't fight them young people, so I had them taken off, and I put them over my daughter-in-law's house to keep over there for me. So I asked Bianca when she had my car, would she go get the rims and take them to her house, because I didn't have a place to keep them. And she said, yeah, so they went over and got them.
All right, and when you've asked her to return them, what has she said?
She didn't tell me nothing. Now she still got them.
But you have to ask her before you sue her.
I asked her over and over and over, and I don't have them yet.
And what would she say?
She didn't say.
She had to answer something. If you asked her over and over, she just didn't look at you.
When I talked to her on the phone, because she stay in Kissimmee and I stay in Orlando, and I would call her and I asked her for my rim. One time she was talking about, I'm going to sell her the rim. I said, no, I'm not selling you my rim.
Okay, so you all have had some conversation about it.
Before, yeah.
All right. Young lady, she says you owe her for the rims. What happened?
Yeah, well, she actually told me she told me to go over to my auntie house to get them. She said the next day she was like, well, you could keep them. Then a couple days later,
my rims.
And a couple days later, she was like, well, matter of fact, you could keep the rims, just give me the tires because I paid so much money for it. I said, all right, no problem, Grandma, because I could get some rims for the tires. Then my uncle, which is her son, which is her husband, told me that my grandma was suing me. And I'm like, suing me for what? And that's when he told me that she wanted her rims back. But I feel like she want the rims back because she doesn't like my girlfriend. And when I bought the car, I gave my girlfriend the car and I bought myself a truck because I have kids. So I gave myself the bigger vehicle and let my girlfriend keep the car.
Plaintiff Susie March is suing her granddaughter, who she claims was born with cocaine in her system.
So you start going with this young lady after you
No, I've been with her 3 years.
Rim?
She believed I was going to keep the car and give my girlfriend the truck.
Okay.
So when she found out I'm not keeping the car and I'm giving her the car, the rims was for the car.
Okay.
Yes, that's what I'm just
All right,
trying to say.
and
Yes,
when she called you and asked you to give her rims back, what have you told her?
I work a lot. I work 2 jobs from 5 in the morning to 7
I
at night.
understand that.
Yes,
That's
sir.
a beautiful thing.
Yes.
When she called and asked for her rims back, what have you told her?
I told my grandma, if I can't make it, can you come get them? I don't have time. So
Oh, okay, so you don't have time. That's her only defense. Well,
Yes,
you
sir.
have time today,
Yes,
so
sir.
let's pay her today.
No, that's no
have a
problem.
good day. $1,076. She
Thank
has
you.
time today, and that was her only defense. Have a good day.
I want her to learn. It ain't because she taking the rim. I want her to learn
Grandma, they at
respect
my
for
house,
me.
but why would you tell my money? I don't have no money. money, the rims is at my house, bro.
They ask you for it. If you want something back working.
Grandma, you have a car. You have a car. You could come get them, Grandma. I don't have time. I work 2 jobs. Grandma, like, that's messed up. And you my grandma, and I love you, and I still don't hate you for this.
Brought my rims back.
Like, Grandma, you have a car. You don't do nothing. You don't work.
No, I don't. I'm
All
retired.
right, so why you can't come to me? I got
retired.
2 jobs.
I don't have to.
I got
I'm
number
retired.
babies.
You have enough to come over to Atlanta. You can bring
When,
my
Grandma,
rims.
when? Like, come on.